Obviously not the Marine Corps, but welcome back to my channel, DwK Videos. If you are new, I make military content, put it on the internet for you. I suggest checking out my social media links in the description down below. However, a survey, which I don't know how they're conducting their case studies, whether or not they're grabbing like a group of 100 random people, if they're grabbing like people from specific jobs out of each branch. However, the Navy came up in 2019 as the fattest military branch. Being in the Navy, I might be able to tell you why this happened. So in the Navy, you only have to get weighed in twice a year, and technically if you score high enough, you only have to do a PT test once a year. And the PT test isn't anything like crazy. Like most high schoolers can pass it if they're in a sport. Most middle schoolers could probably pass it if they're in a sport. If you're like in middle school track, you could probably pass it, no problem. Now cheerleading, because that's not a sport, you might have some, just kidding. I just wanted to piss off some people in my chat. Anyway, PT isn't hard. Now, when you get to the fleet, the Navy's much different than the other branches. Being that I've been greenside with the Marines and I've deployed on a ship, I think I can shed some light on like the differences. So when you're in like the Army, Air Force, Marine Corps can go on ships. However, normally all the other ones are going on ground, right? Whether that be an SP MAGTF, Special Purpose Marine Air Ground Task Force, which is where you're just like a Marine unit and you get located somewhere else, an Army deployment where you just get located somewhere else, or an Air Force deployment where you stay inside an apartment somewhere in Nevada and you fly drones into the Middle East. But you get my point. Everyone is on ground except for the Navy. You're in this like tin can place where you don't have a lot of freedom of movement. Being on a ship, the gym is so incredibly packed. Most days it's just not even worth it. Me and my buddies would try to go during our lunch break, because we worked in medical, so we tried to go during our lunch break because we went after work, everyone and their moms there. Even during lunch break, every single machine would be taken. You could be waiting half an hour just to get on the bench press once, and by then your break's pretty much over. So if you want to work out, you normally had to find like new and innovative ways to work out. Now they have like HIIT, and they have like the ramp, which is like the ramp going up into like the flight deck, which you can run up and down, and you know, there's a bunch of elliptical machines, cardio machines that are often taken, but you could still get on there. But getting something like a regular lift in is few and far between. Now, can you dedicate your time and like stay up late at night and make sure you get into the gym? Yes, you can always be ultra dedicated. But after a long day of work, and these Navy cats, I can't speak on behalf because I'm just a corpsman, but these engineering rates work so incredibly hard. They had it so much worse than majority of the people in the Navy, right? Navy works incredibly hard on deployment. You're working like 18-hour days some days. Literally insane. Whereas you have like Air Force, Army, Marine Corps, where when you're deployed, because I was on ground in Kuwait, I was able to see how the Army was living. They had their own little dorm set up. It looked like an apartment where they had like an Xbox TV. They were working like a 7 to 3 job, and then after that you're pretty much like on your own time, change out in civvies. Dudes were just chilling at the pool hall, which, don't mind you, is cool. I would love to have that. We didn't want to leave Kuwait. When me and my Marines were on the ship, we landed in Kuwait for like a month. We didn't want to leave. It was literally amazing. Army has such cool like places to be deployed. But while we were there, there was this huge, like seemed like a warehouse gym. There was also multiple gyms, but this huge one had Wi-Fi, water bottle service, every equipment you could ask for, tons and tons of cardio equipment. It was so incredibly easy to work out while you're deployed on ground. When you're on the ship, you got a small little gym and so many people trying to use it at all hours of the day. Now let's talk about nutrition. The lines, vastly different, right? So if you're at like an Army deployment, super nice chow hall, like 5-star, like walk in any time of the day. It was great, it was awesome. Navy ships, very specific times, and the lines break up by rank. So in the Marine Corps, the youngins eat first, which is probably the way it should be. But in the Navy, they have like an E6 line where they cut in front of the entire E5 and below. And there's a lot more E5 and below. So, and then they have a Chief's Mess, which was whatever, but they have that. Then they have a duty line. Then they have a flyers line. And the duty line is just people who quote have duty, but they're administrative jobs, so it's not like they have to get back to their duty anyway. So if you end up in this normal line, right? Say you're 100th in line and you win up 50 people, and then 50 people join in the quote duty line, which they probably don't even have duty. You just went back to your slot at number 100 because it has to go 1 for 1. Because they have so many mouths to feed, such little time and such a small space to do it, the food isn't going to be gourmet like it is at like army places, right? Not saying all army places are gourmet, but specifically the bases I've been on, which is like Fort Sam Houston, the Kuwait one. There was a joint base in Iraq, which was like a joint chow hall, but you get the picture. It's not a Navy chow hall. All these places were amazing, and they had like contractors cooking for you that like genuinely cared. So easy to meet your nutritional goals. Eat at a deficit if you want to lose weight. Eat at a surplus if you want to gain weight. Navy, a lot of times there's like 2 meal choices, right? There's not a lot of like, oh, I want this, I want this, I want this. And because a lot of these dudes, these deck dudes are working through these chow hours, they can either get a plate sent to them or they can just eat like ramen noodles that was sent in a care package. Unfortunately, that seems to be like a really popular option, is dudes will just eat snacks instead of waiting in the long lines. Personally, I know sometimes me and my buddy Garg, another corpsman, we would just make Spam instead of waiting in an 1.5 hour long line. One time we waited almost 2 hours to eat, and then we had like 30 minutes to eat. And sometimes it's just like, nah, I'm gonna eat Spam. So I think those 2 major regions is like the lifestyle difference is why the Navy ranked as number 1. Some of the things that I think can fix this problem is enforce like mandatory X amount of PT a week as a unit, because there's unit cohesion, and I know a bunch of people think this is super moto. I'm not the most moto person in the world, but like PTing with your group makes sense. You're in the military. It's something that's been done for years. Hella like units now do this thing called PT on your own, where they're like, yeah, make sure you work out 3 times a week, and don't actually check to see if you're doing it. Whereas you could do like morale building things where you could, you know, have a volleyball tournament, have a like basketball tournament, put incentives. The higher ups could be like, hey, whoever wins this gets half a day off on Friday. They get to leave early on Friday. Something like that. There's incentives to work out. And when you're playing games with like the people you work with, you build stronger relationships, work gets easier, and you have more fit people in your command. Also, I think we have to make the PFT more strict. And what I'm saying by that is, you know, hella people get their buddy lined up and they're like 2, 4, 6, 8. It's not if you and your buddy are just hooking each other up, there's no strive to like get better. It's not like, oh, I scored really shitty on this one, I should really train for the next one, you know? And if you're watching this and you cheat, shame on you. Listen, I'm not a square, but if you get rated against someone, say you both are going up for advancement, and they look at this guy and they're like, oh, he has amazing PT scores, but realistically he just lined up with his buddy, you're a dirtbag. I'm gonna leave it at that. But yeah, personal opinion on why Navy got that. It's not really so much that like Navy people are more lazy. I think it's just the work environment that we're put in. And we have some leeway on like PTing on our own. Marines, probably the fittest branch, which I'm pretty much guessing is a guaranteed fact. It's like a Mando group PT thing. And the most motivating thing I've seen about the Marine Corps, and I was in like one of my like second field op going greenside, right? And they're like, all right, taps, everyone can go to bed. All these dudes willingly went underneath a lamp, like a light post, Jesus, giant lamp, moth lamp, human lamp. Anyway, went underneath a street light pretty much, because we were like off in like East Miramar. And these guys went under a street light and they set up like a pull-up bar, and everyone just started doing pull-ups together and see who could get the highest. What other group does that? These guys could have just went to bed, they worked all day. Nah, let's go do pull-ups. And it was fun. It was like a bro moment, you know? Like, oh, you gotta do 5 pull-ups to get in the circle. I don't know, that sort of stuff's kind of cool to me. I know it's not everyone's forte. And I'm not saying, you know, everyone has to be like a fitness stud, because I'm not one who maxes out my PFT anyway. Max out the push-ups though. Humble brag. But yeah, I think if people made, I don't know, more effort to do it as a unit, I feel like people are more likely to work out when they have someone to work out with, having a gym buddy. So if your coworkers are also your gym buddies, you're kind of like boosting up all sorts of attributes in your team. What are your guys' thoughts on this? Leave a comment down below. I'll be sure to read through them all. I always do. I try my best to respond to everyone. It doesn't always happen, but I will for sure read it. So I'll see you guys in the next one.